Have you ever opened up a beekeeping supply catalog for the very first time? If you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can honestly feel like every single gadget, treatment, and piece of hardware on those pages is absolutely essential. The sheer volume of stuff is, quite frankly, enough to give anyone a serious case of catalog anxiety. But today, we're taking a page straight out of expert beekeeper Beth's playbook. Her guiding philosophy is brilliant, and it's so simple. She says, buy for the management job you actually face, not for every possibility in the catalog. So we're going to use Beth's practical, super calm approach to build out a safe, highly functional beekeeping kit without wasting your hard-earned budget on gadgets you just don't need yet. Welcome to this explainer. Our clear goal today is to totally demystify the purchasing process for your very first apiary. We are going to curate a rock-solid beginner kit using Beth's highly structured 4-category system. By the time we wrap up here, you are going to know exactly what you literally must have on day one, and honestly, just as importantly, what you can confidently leave sitting in the shopping cart for another year. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is exactly how we are going to break it all down. 1. The 4 buying categories. 2. Per colony housing essentials. 3. Shared tools and safety. 4. Health and seasonal supplies. 5. Purchases that can wait. And finally, number 6. A practical 2-hive starter checklist. All right, first up, section 1. The 4 buying categories. This is basically your brand new purchasing framework. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it instantly cures that catalog anxiety we talked about, and it's going to save your wallet too. We've divided the entire beekeeping universe into 4 distinct buckets. First is per colony hardware. These are the physical parts that must fit each individual colony, and yes, you literally have to buy them before the bees even arrive. Next up, we have shared working tools. These are the items you're physically carrying from hive to hive during your inspections, so one good, reliable set is going to serve your whole apiary. Third is health and seasonal supplies, which covers things like your monitoring kits and treatments. And finally, the 4th bucket, convenience or specialty gear. These are the shiny tools you should actively delay purchasing until your own hands-on experience proves you actually really need them. Moving right along to section 2, per colony housing essentials. Let's start with that first category. Every single colony absolutely needs its own complete, independent set of housing components totally ready to go before your bees arrive. And right here is the golden rule you just cannot ignore, the compatibility rule. Every single piece of your hive hardware must match in frame count and depth. You know, beginners are often really shocked to learn that 8-frame and 10-frame hive bodies do not interchange at all. If you try to mix them, it's like a giant puzzle with the wrong pieces. You'll leave massive gaps for robber bees or bad weather to get right in. Plus, deep, medium, and shallow frames, they are all totally different heights, so pick a system and stick to its exact dimensions. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a costly, unworkable mess. To really cement this idea, let's clearly contrast these 2 core concepts. If you plan to start with 2 colonies, which by the way is highly recommended, you must buy 2 complete sets of hive boxes, 2 bottom boards, and 2 feeders. However, you absolutely do not need 2 smokers or 2 full beekeeping suits. Really recognizing this difference between what absolutely must be duplicated and what can just be shared is going to save you a tremendous amount of money right out of the gate. That brings us to section 3, shared tools and safety, the gear you need for your actual inspections. So let's talk about the specific items you'll carry from hive to hive. Reliable face and body protection is your absolute foundation for confident, safe handling. Face protection, completely non-negotiable. Whether you go with a veil, a jacket, or the whole shebang with a full suit, you have to fit test it. You want to be absolutely 100% sure bees cannot crawl upward. Look super closely at the zippers, the closures, the spacing. Also, go ahead and add some long-cuffed beekeeping gloves to protect your hands while you're still learning the ropes. You're also going to need a primary hive tool, plus, and this is a pro tip, buy a cheap spare. Trust me, you will eventually lose one in the tall grass. It happens to all of us. And finally, grab a notebook. Diligently recording your inspections is the ultimate habit of a safe, successful beekeeper. Now, a smoker is a real game changer because smoke gently reduces the bees' defensive response and it interrupts their alarm communication. But smoker safety is absolutely critical. You must use dry, untreated fuel. Never use anything painted or chemically contaminated. And test the smoke against your bare hand first. It should feel cool, not hot, and definitely not full of flying sparks. And please, please, always carry an extinguishing method with you and use a fire-safe transport container. Look, nobody wants to be the beekeeper who accidentally starts a brush fire or melts their car's upholstery on the drive home. When it comes to feeding your bees, you have several choices, and they each have distinct trade-offs. Top feeders give you a large capacity, while frame feeders keep the syrup right inside the hive, nice and close to the cluster. Pail or jar feeders are just wonderfully simple. But I need to issue a major warning right here. Entrance feeders, while they are very easy to monitor, they can trigger severe robbing behaviors from other bees. Furthermore, open feeding, which basically means putting syrup in a bucket outside for all the local bees to share, is wholly unsuitable for beginners. It can spread disease like wildfire and trigger massive robbing events. Just avoid it.
Okay, moving into Section 4, Health and Seasonal Supplies. Let's talk biological safety.
Transitioning over to biological safety, we have to talk about parasites. So the crucial point is this. Varroa mites are the single biggest threat to your colony. Period. You need a validated monitoring plan immediately. This means going out and buying a complete alcohol wash or sugar roll kit early on. You must never just blindly buy a shelf full of random treatments just in case, and you absolutely should not apply any treatments without testing your mite levels first. You should only select and apply legal treatments when you're monitoring results, the current season, your management plan, and the strict instructions on the pesticide label all align perfectly. Now, you might be wondering about used gear. While buying used wooden equipment can definitely save you some cash, buying used comb carries severe biological risks. Used comb is a biological asset, sure, but American foul brood spores can literally persist in it for decades. You should never, ever buy comb if you don't know its exact history. Because these risks are so serious, there are strict regulations in place. To put this into perspective, look at Virginia law. They require that honeybees on combs, hives, and equipment with combs must have a mandatory certificate of health prior to being sold. On top of that, bringing used equipment with comb into Virginia requires a specific entry permit from the state apiarist. Always evaluate the legal and biological risks, and if you're ever in doubt, have questionable equipment evaluated by an apiary inspector before you even think about bringing it onto your property. Which brings us to Section 5, Purchases that can wait, the convenience gear. Seriously, go ahead and put your credit card away for these items. Just put them straight on your wait-to-buy list. Honey extractors, uncapping tanks, and bottling equipment, they are super expensive, and truthfully, a first-year honey harvest is never guaranteed anyway. Plus, a lot of local clubs actually rent these out, so check there first. Things like queen rearing and grafting tools, powered bee vacuums, and specialty gadgets like pollen traps can also definitely wait. Hold off until your actual hands-on experience in the apiary proves that you have a specific, real-world management problem that these tools can actually solve.
Finally, Section 6, a practical 2-hive starter checklist. Let's pull this all together.
And this brilliantly illustrates how applying Beth's 4-category system perfectly organizes your shopping cart. If you're going for a 2-hive setup, here is your definitive Day 1 checklist. You need 2 complete sets of compatible housing and 2 independent feeders. For your shared tools, 1 set of protective clothing per person, 1 smoker setup with a fire-safe transport kit, a couple of hive tools, 1 shared Varroa-monitoring kit, 1 record-keeping system, and 1 yard water station. Oh, and grab a few spare expansion boxes for when your colonies grow. Do this, and you are fully equipped, safely, efficiently, and without breaking the bank.
So, now that your physical equipment kit is perfectly planned, purchased, and safely set up out in your yard, there is really only one major decision left to make. What kind of bees are actually going to go into that brand new equipment? It completely sets up your absolute next learning step, which leads us right to this crucial question. Nuke or package bees? Which should a beginner actually buy? But we'll leave that for you to think about until next time.